Friends, this is not a made-up tale, but a true event. It's the story of a girl who dabbled in black magic, what devastation followed, and how her life met a terrible end. Rebecca and Alice were two sisters whose love for one another was spoken of by everyone. They loved each other more than life itself. They shared every joy and every sorrow. Even the smallest things they owned were shared. One evening by the riverbank, Rebecca took a pair of handmade earrings from her hands and gave them to Alice. "These are for you, my life. We will always stay together, okay?" Rebecca said. Alice took her sister's hand and replied, "Yes. My dear, we will never be apart." Yet there was a hollow, unfamiliar note in her voice. They decided they would marry in such a way that they could always remain together. If both proposals come from the same family, fine. Otherwise, we won't marry at all. Alice laughed and Rebecca agreed. Their wish came true. Two brothers from a nearby town, Arthur and Ian, asked for their hands. Arthur was a successful businessman whose wealth and generosity made him respected across the region. Ian, his younger brother, was a simple, hardworking man who earned his living through honest labor. The brothers loved one another so deeply that Arthur never let Ian feel less than him. Rebecca married Arthur, and Alice married Ian. Both brothers lived under the same roof, and Arthur's wealth had turned the house into something like a small manor. Rebecca's life filled with happiness. God blessed her with a lovely daughter whom they named Lily. Lily's innocent laugh was the light of the home, but Alice's life was full of a hidden emptiness. Years passed without children for her. She would laugh and take Lily in her arms, but inside her burned a fire of envy so fierce it was ready to reduce everything to ashes. Rebecca's new life, her jewelry, Arthur's love, and Lily's laughter became poison in Alice's eyes. Rebecca continued to give Alice the finest of her clothes and jewels. "You are my sister, my life," Rebecca said. But in Alice's eyes, the sparks of hatred danced one night. When the village slept, Alice decided she would destroy Rebecca's every joy. Secretly, she first went to a local charm maker who was considered a maker of simple amulets and had some talismans made to harm Lily, hiding them in different corners of Rebecca's house. Weeks passed and nothing happened. Lily still laughed and played, and Rebecca's happiness did not diminish. Alice's anger soared. In the darkness of another night, Alice traveled far to a sinister occultist who lived in a lonely hut on the edge of a wild wood. The occultist's eyes seemed to know every secret in Alice's heart. "What do you want?" he asked in a voice that sounded like it came from a grave. Alice sneered. "Those simple charlatans did nothing. I need something real." The occultist's eyes turned red with anger. He rose from his chair and stared at her. "You call them charlatans?" he said with a terrifying depth. "Very well. I'll perform a dark rite for you, but you must leave your faith behind. Are you ready?" Alice hesitated for a moment, but hatred pushed her forward. "Yes, I'm ready. I want harm for Rebecca's daughter, Lily." She handed him a small photo of Lily smiling in her mother's arms. The occultist demanded payment. Alice emptied the little pouch of money she had saved through hardship and took off Rebecca's earrings and placed them before him. "This is everything I have. Do this for me." He took the earrings, brought out a carved little figurine studded with pins and eyes that seemed alive. "Bury this by a child's grave in the old churchyard at midnight," he instructed. "Water the spot each night. As long as you do this, Lily will be destroyed. But beware, if you abandon the ritual, the magic will turn on you." Shaking, Alice took the figurine. That night, under a cold wind and the churchyard's hush, she dug near a child's grave, buried the effigy, and covered it. At first she felt watched, but there was no one. Night after night she went and watered the spot. Days later, Lily grew ill. She screamed at night, said strange things, and her eyes held an unnatural terror. Sometimes she would wake and bang her head into the walls or cry, "Mama, someone is pulling me." Rebecca and Arthur rushed Lily to doctors, but no one could explain the illness. Rebecca sat awake nursing Lily, tears running down her face, her heart gripped by a fear she couldn't name. Alice visited Rebecca every day, pretending to comfort her. Yet inside she felt a terrible, wicked joy. Lily's condition worsened. The house fell into a different sort of silence. One night, Lily started screaming as if a fierce, invisible enemy had her in its grip. Rebecca held her close, pleading, "Lily, my love, what's happening? Tell me." Lily's eyes went blank and lifeless. Her small body trembled. Her breaths grew shallow and then stopped. Little Lily slid from Rebecca's arms, forever silent. Rebecca let out a bone-chilling cry as she tried desperately to wake her daughter. But Lily was gone. Arthur fell to his knees, clutching Lily's small hand. His grief was raw, his voice broken into pieces. Rebecca buried her face in Arthur's chest and sobbed. Alice stood at the doorway watching, tears for show and venom in her heart. She advanced, hugging Rebecca as if to comfort her, voice full of feigned sorrow. Arthur and Rebecca still loved Ian and Alice. Arthur ordered new equipment for Ian's workshop, and Rebecca continued to give her the best of her jewelry and clothes. To Alice, Rebecca and Arthur's care felt like a poisoned blade. She had expected Lily's death to ruin Rebecca, but still the couple clung to each other and tried to go on. Alice resolved next to take Arthur from Rebecca to destroy every remaining happiness. A few weeks later, under the deep cover of night, Alice returned to the occultist's hut. "Your magic has failed. Arthur is recovering," she spat. "You did nothing." The occultist smiled a cruel, knowing smile and took her inside. This time his price was far worse. He told her bluntly that to complete a deadly ritual against Arthur, she would have to give herself to him 7 nights and surrender her dignity. Alice's face drained of color, but her hatred overcame her. "Do it," she whispered. She lay with him night after night, and in return, he gave her another dark talisman, a grotesque doll with strange marks and an instruction list written in uncanny script. "Hang it from the old sycamore near the churchyard, thread a cord around its neck, and each midnight tie the knot and recite these words. Prick the doll with a needle and spit on it each night for 7 nights. If you do this, Arthur will die. But beware, if the rite is left incomplete, it will devour you." Alice did as she was told. The shadow on Arthur's life deepened. His business collapsed, customers vanished, shops emptied, and debt piled on his shoulders. His health failed. He grew weaker each day, unable to rise from the bed. Rebecca watched her husband's decline and cried to physicians and healers, but none could explain the cause. Arthur's light faded, and his suffering felt like something invisible was slowly strangling him. Alice, who came daily to console Rebecca, hid inside a gloating joy. Her curse was working. When Arthur's condition reached a critical point, a village woman suggested Rebecca speak to the Reverend, a kindly, respected man in their parish. Rebecca recounted everything to him: Lily's death, Arthur's illness, the baffling failure of doctors. The Reverend's face grew grave as he examined Arthur. He asked for a cup of water, placed a small clay charm into it, and the water turned dark. "Someone has cast a dark spell on your husband," he said solemnly. "In my judgment, this may also explain Lily's death." Rebecca's lips buckled. "Who would do such a thing?" "We have hurt no one," she cried. The Reverend gave Rebecca a protective amulet and told her to tie it around Arthur's neck and have him drink blessed water daily. "If God wills, the effect will break," he said. Rebecca followed his instructions. Slowly, very slowly, Arthur improved. He regained strength and sat up, then stood, then walked. Joy returned to Rebecca's face. But Alice's anger flared hotter than ever. She returned to the occultist's hut, furious that Arthur was recovering. This time, the occultist laughed and demanded an even higher price. He asked for Alice's body and soul all over again. In her madness, she submitted, and he promised another devastating ritual. While Alice was away in the occultist's presence, Ian went into the household's old storage room to fetch a trunk that belonged to their mother. When he opened the door, what he found stopped his breath. The room was full of smoke, as if a fire had recently burned. Strange, frightening symbols were drawn on the walls. Burned papers lay scattered, and old books were strewn about. Books of dark rites and terrifying signs. Ian found a book that described black arts. Inside were 2 photographs, one of little Lily smiling innocently and another of Arthur laughing with Rebecca. The photos had strange marks carved around their edges. Ian understood. Alice had done this. He raced to Arthur and Rebecca and shouted the truth. Alice was at that moment standing at the doorway. Ian said, "She has practiced dark arts and placed your pictures in those books." A confrontation erupted. Alice threw the accusation back at Ian. "It was you. I saw you go into that room alone." Arthur grabbed Ian by the collar in fury. Ian, trembling, challenged the accusation and demanded Alice swear on the family Bible. Alice put her hand on the Bible and swore she had done nothing. "I swear on the Bible that I didn't do this." Ian did. He's the one who practices dark things. Rebecca and Arthur were stunned and angry. Arthur pushed Ian out of the house. "Leave our home," he said. Ian left with his head bowed and his heart shattered. Arthur apologized to Alice, saying, "We forgive him on behalf of your family. Don't be upset." Alice said nothing, but inside she was delighted. Ian had been expelled, leaving her closer to achieving her goal. They kept Alice in the house. "She is our sister," they said, but her condition only worsened. Alice's nights grew worse. She had dreams where Lily stared at her with empty eyes, and Arthur's voice echoed in her ears. Her body broke out in sores that grew into angry wounds. The wounds smelled so foul that household members avoided her. Rumors spread that she had committed grave sins. One night, suffering violently, Alice collapsed in her room, her body racked with pain, her eyes wide with terror. Rebecca and Arthur rushed her to a well-known village healer, an experienced man named Mr. Harding. Alice and Harding examined Alice and was solemn. "This is no ordinary illness," he said. He tied a rare herb to a thin thread and instructed Alice to chew it. As she did, she coughed and retched in agony. Mr. Harding slowly pulled the thread, and out came, to everyone's shock, dozens of tiny white maggots and parasites clinging to the herb, creatures that writhed as if trying to eat it. The stench filled the room. Rebecca and Arthur retched in horror. Alice began to cough and then vomited small wriggling things onto the floor. The sight and smell were unbearable. Mr. Harding cursed softly and said he had never seen such a thing. "Her body and spirit are burdened with a heavy weight," he said. "If there is guilt in her heart and she truly repents, perhaps mercy can come. But this condition is a punishment as well as an affliction." Rebecca begged Alice to speak the truth. In a sudden, ragged confession, Alice began to cry out and tell everything. How she had burned with envy, how she had sought charms from the first charlatan, then gone to the occultist and sacrificed her dignity for power, how she had sworn falsely upon the Bible, and how she had accused Ian to drive him from the house. She admitted that she had arranged the burial of the figurine and had performed the rites against Lily and Arthur. Rebecca and Arthur fell to their knees. "You killed my child," Rebecca sobbed. "You destroyed our home." Mr. Harding said the cure would be difficult, but not impossible. He told them to keep Alice isolated and urged her to seek sincere forgiveness from God. If her repentance were genuine, perhaps she would be spared further punishment. They brought Alice home and kept her in a single room. Her condition deteriorated. The wounds festered, pus and blood oozed, and the stench drove the family away. She cried and pleaded day and night, sometimes calling for Lily and Arthur in penitence, sometimes babbling. Villagers labeled her a cursed woman. No one came near. One night, Rebecca heard strange sounds from Alice's room, as if someone were whispering. Terrified, Rebecca approached and found a nightmare. Alice lay on the bed, eyes bulging, mouth open, a silent scream. Forms crawled from her wounds and slithered onto the floor. Her face had gone pale and ashen. Her body fell still. Her breathing stopped. Alice died there in that room. Rebecca sat silently on the floor outside the room. Her grief remained, but somewhere beneath, it was a strange sense of relief that Alice had paid the price for her crimes. The villagers took Alice's death as a warning, a grim lesson that envy and refusing to accept fate can bring about one's own ruin. The fire of envy had consumed her, leaving only ashes. Friends, if you found this true account moving, please share your thoughts in the comments. If you liked the video, like and subscribe for more true accounts like this. Thank you very much.